I'm going to install the factory lowering kit from Ducati on this Monster, and I'm going to ride it before and after and tell you what I think. Welcome to the Never Ending Weekend. So if you're like me, a short guy, 5'6", 30-inch inseam, you might have second thoughts about buying a motorcycle, especially for the type of bikes that I like to ride, sport bikes. They tend to have pretty high seat heights. 32, 33, 34 inches is not that uncommon. Having a 30-inch inseam, you really have to take that into consideration when you're thinking about how comfortable it's going to be while riding the motorcycle. There are ways to lower a motorcycle. There are aftermarket solutions like lowering links, but it slightly changes the geometry of the motorcycle. And even though I probably wouldn't be able to tell with my skill level, it's still something I'd rather not do. But there are some manufacturers that offer factory lowering kits like this Ducati Monster. So I'm going to get that installed and take it for a spin before and after and let you know what I think. So this is the Ducati Monster Plus. It's a plus just because they add this fairing, this windshield, and this rear seat cowl. It still comes with the rear seat, but that's basically throwing in some options that a lot of people opt for and just putting it in a package and calling it a plus. This motorcycle in particular has the European sequential LEDs, as well as this Termagoni full exhaust, which gets rid of the CAD as well. It's one of the few motorcycles that have a factory lower kit. What they do is they replace the spring on the rear shock, as well as the internal springs in the front forks, and even throw in a shorter kickstand so that everything balances out. So you're not really changing the geometry of the motorcycle, but you're just lowering the whole thing a little bit. As you can see at the stock height, it's 34.5 with my weight balanced over both sides equally. I'm very tippy-toed. I mean, it's probably manageable, but there's no way I'd be able to back this up without getting off. Hills would be an issue. Even going forward on an incline would be an issue because I hardly have any traction. You know, you could always do the butt on one side, foot plant, but still, something that really takes the comfort out of motorcycling because you always have to think about when you're coming to a stop. Anyways, let's take it for a spin and see how it goes. So just off the bat, it's always awkward getting your foot over. You have to be really flexible to get your rear leg over that high seat. Also taking your kickstand down. If you're on an incline, you got to use the rear brake to hold you in place. Wow, the pegs are pretty far back. A lot further back than I thought they'd be. I always tell people when they ask me about my height and riding motorcycles, the most dangerous part is when you're going slow or stopping. Riding itself doesn't really matter if you're 2 inches too short or a foot too short. Once you get rolling, you don't really need your legs for anything. Your legs being too short, you get really good at balancing your motorcycle at slow speed. Even coming to a stop sign, you can pretty much come to a full stop without putting your feet down. Unfortunately, there's no windy roads around here to test out cornering, but this is a really good example of not really being able to tell. 99% of my riding is on straight roads. I'll look out for some spirited roads or like the occasional track day, but those are far and few in between. But on these straight roads, I don't know if I'd be able to tell between the lowered bike and this bike, even in a back-to-back situation. With my riding experience and riding this now, even on a track, I don't know if I'd be able to tell. Looking for corners. I have no idea where I am. I mean, with the lowered suspension, ground clearance, or handling in high-speed corners, I mean, day-to-day riding, I don't know where I'd test that. I kind of want to test out the handling to see if the lowering kit would make any difference, but I don't know how you test out the handling without high-speed corners. Which way should I go? Oh yeah, that's another thing. See, I instinctively go up right beside the curb when I stop so I can put my foot down on the curb. I just gotta check where we are. See, okay, now this is a perfect example. Just the fact that you're not stable with both feet on the ground, it's just uncomfortable putting stuff in your pocket and stopping to do stuff. I mean, right now, even if I do the butt cheek thing, it's precarious. Holding the bike, balancing on one foot. If you start tipping the other way, There's nothing really to stop you if your butt's moved over all one way. Even if you lean the bike against your prop foot, if you lean too far, it starts getting heavy and you just feel uncomfortable. I mean, you probably won't fall, but at the same time, even if you're centered on the bike, you're on your tippy toes, it's kind of the same thing. You're trying to get something out of your pocket. It's hard to maneuver or bend your legs. Yeah, it's just super annoying. This is another good example. I'm going up on this lip of this driveway. It's a little unbalanced. I'm making a U-turn. If I had to put my foot down for whatever reason, let's say someone jumped out in front of me, I didn't see them, and I had to kind of jab the brakes, it's just not as comfortable as if you could put both your feet down flat foot. That was one main reason I went to a bobber. It was a revelation to have both feet flat on the ground. It was awesome. I felt like I was in such control. I could back up the bike while seated. I've never really had that because I've been riding sport bikes all my life. It's the kind of things you take for granted if you're taller. There's only bonuses for putting a lowering kit in terms of confidence and comfort, being able to maneuver the bike at slow speed. So that's a no-brainer. The only question is, will it affect the handling of the motorcycle? Will it affect the ride of the motorcycle? I've heard different stories about the spring rates of the lowering kit, making it softer, making it firmer, less cornering clearance while really leaned over. But if anything, the ride today made me realize I'm hardly ever in a situation where I'll be able to tell. And even when I'm in those situations where I would be able to tell, they're very short-lived. And the fact that it's a factory lowering kit, I'm confident that it'll keep the proper suspension geometry. It won't affect the handling to the point where it's detrimental to my safety or my enjoyment. See, even reaching that kickstand sometimes is an issue. There you have it. So back at the dealership now, it's getting really busy over here. In the driveway, last of the trellis frame monsters. Looks great. The Evotech frame slider, the SC Projects exhaust, single-sided swing arms. Great looking bike. Nice paint job. Tell you one thing, I'm not like old school who really loves the trellis frame, but it does make it look different and special. Here's the V2S. It's the brand new one. Rear exhaust. That's probably the easiest way to tell. This was another bike that I was thinking about getting, but no factory lowering kit. And I had a V4 for a while and found I never rode it. I thought it was because I couldn't really go anywhere with it, but it turns out after having the bobber, I rode everywhere with it. I just don't think I was comfortable. Beautiful bike. Wish it was shorter, but I think I made the wiser choice. We're going to give it to the mechanics, have them install it, and then we'll take it for another spin.
A few moments later.
So I just got the bike back, and I'm just going to tell you some specs before we take it out for a spin. The suspension lowering kit is pretty involved. A bit over $400 for the lowering kit, and then the seat itself is a little over $200. And the lowering kit lowers it by approximately an inch, and the seat lowers it by approximately 3/4 of an inch. So from a stock height of 32.3 inches, that'll lower it. So the seat alone will lower it to, 32.3, so 31.5 inches. And then add the lowering kit, it's about 30.5 inches, so 30.5 inches. So this is with the seat and the lowering kit. I can get the balls of my feet firmly on the ground. This is so much better. It almost makes it like, whereas in before I was kind of on my tippy toes and I was always thinking about it, I'm not really thinking about it anymore. And even if I do the kind of hip off the seat or the butt off the seat, it's so much easier to get to a flat foot either side. So you're not leaning it as much when you're doing that, or not thinking about it as much anyway. Before I would have to really switch sides and hold the front brake, hold the rear brake, depending if I was putting in gear, if the road was slightly on an incline. But now I can pretty much back up the bike, and this is a slightly inclined driveway right now where I am. So yeah, really happy with how much it's lowered it. You know, to tell you the truth, I had a few reservations about actually getting it installed. The cost, by the way, it took 2 hours, but it depends on how friendly you are with your service department, how long it will take, because it is pretty involved. But let's see if it makes a difference in the comfort that I have riding the bike, and if it improves my confidence so that it's just more enjoyable to ride. Listen to that exhaust.
Yep, way better.
You know, it was this thing when you're getting on the bike and you're on your tippy toes, even if you're consciously not thinking about it, you're subconsciously thinking about it constantly. It's low enough now that I'm not even thinking about it. In terms of the compliancy, the ride feels the same. Right off the get-go, I do notice the seat is a lot less cushioned. Kind of digs in a little bit in your inner thighs, but it's not too bad. The good thing about swapping out the seat is you still have the original, so if you're going for a long ride or something, you can always pop it on and you lose 3/4 of an inch. I mean, I kind of mentioned this before. Unless you're doing some serious canyon carving, and there's none of that where I live, I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference between the lowered bike and a standard height bike. I'll tell you, if I am on a racetrack, I'll give you an update on how this handles in that environment. But right now, it feels exactly the same, except for the added confidence I have in being able to put my foot down comfortably if something happens. Yeah, I mean, it still feels like a good handling motorcycle. In terms of things dragging and stuff, I don't think that'll be a problem either. Not the way I ride anyway. I mean, unless your toes are really tucked in, I can't imagine anything touching down before your toes do. Yeah, ride-wise, I can't tell. Feels the same.
Oh, here's another good example. Stopping at the gas station. Used to be a little bit precarious, but way easier now. Totally feel comfortable leaning over the bike, getting fuel tank, dipping it in. So much better. I'll put the kickstand down anyway. I don't know if you saw my other video. I almost dropped my bike because I forgot to put down the kickstand.
Let's go to the parking lot and try some slow stuff. See that? Got my foot down, no problem. The only reason I'm thinking about it is because I'm making this video. Let's say some kid runs out in front of you and you have to jab on the brake. You're making a slow maneuver and you gotta jam on the brake and foot comes down. Way more comfortable. Way more confidence inspiring. Yep, really like it. You know, when I was on my tippy toes reversing, it was virtually impossible. Even on a flat surface, I could barely just do it. But with the balls of my feet touching, even on an incline, I can move it backwards. So much easier. There's no trepidation about doing small, slow maneuvers. Look at that car. Foot down. No problem. This monster is nimble. I understand why some people put on the steering dampener. The steering is light. Nice, but very light. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I'll get home and park and tell you my final thoughts. So we're back at home and I'm just going to share with you what I thought about the whole lowering kit experience. Do I regret it? Not at all. I really thought it wasn't going to make that much of a difference, and I actually was teetering on not doing it at all because once I sat on it, the stock form, I felt like I was comfortable enough. But the added confidence it gave me, the stability it gave me, just kind of changed the whole riding experience. I know what a combined 1 3/4, you'd think it wouldn't make that big of a difference. And to tell you the truth, just sitting on it, just thinking through like where my feet were before, I don't even remember it being that much different. But the fact that I can put the balls of my feet firmly on the ground makes such a difference. I know you can't tell, but this driveway is a little bit sloped, and being able to push it up or pull it back makes the biggest difference in the world. One thing I did notice while I was riding around at stoplights where the road is slightly pitched backwards, to be able to come to a stop and just kind of stand there without having to hold the brake, it's kind of a game changer. I'll show you the difference between the seats. So 3/4 of an inch difference between the seats. That one is much more contoured than this is. All this extra padding. And that in itself already, I mean, again, it's so slight, but it's a subconscious level of confidence that it gives you that it makes the riding so much more comfortable. And now I have this extra soft seat. If I'm going to go on long rides, I can use this instead. This is a little less comfortable. You feel it pinching through your inseam a little bit, but it's not that bad. One of the main reasons I decided on the Ducati Monster is it does have a factory lowering kit. And I'm happy I chose this bike. It's perfect for me. I love it. It's so nimble. And now with the added confidence of a lower seat height, with the peace of mind of knowing that the lowering suspension kit was made by the factory and keeps all the geometry the same, it just lowers the bike, gives me a peace of mind that everything was done correctly. So yeah, I think it was a great investment. I think if you're also a short rider in the same market, I think this is something you should definitely look for. But tell me, are you a short rider? Share with me the things that you've done to your bike or things that you've adjusted to make riding more comfortable for you. I'd like to know. Thanks and have a great weekend, everyone.